And welcome to CatavanCast, Van Life with a Cat. It's a show where we discuss our experiences travelling through the many countries of Europe, or not travelling, due to various restrictions, in a camper van. I'm Ben.
I'm Frey. Dargo sat on the windowsill, staring outside world.
Yes, and today we're going to continue talking about our journey through the Peloponnese of Greece.
Yes.
Just while the lockdown restrictions were being eased.
Yes, gently, slowly.
So, to point out that it might be hopefully an audible improvement in quality. We're in a house now, no longer in a van recording off a GoPro.
No.
So we actually have proper recording equipment. But
yes.
We're still kind of living out of boxes, so...
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be an echo or...
I hope not.
Hopefully not.
This is one of the less echoey rooms in the house.
This has got easily the most upholstery in it.
Yes.
If this doesn't work, we just have to huddle up in the wardrobe.
Catavan in a wardrobe.
Catarobe. Catrobe.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm sure they exist.
Yes. And last time we finished talking about our trip, we'd gone from our lockdown position and we'd done quite a bit of the southern part of the Peloponnese. Mm-hmm. And this time we were heading up and we just got to Patras, or Patra.
Yes.
That's a weird thing I've noticed when looking up the names of places. Like in English, there seems to be both spellings are acceptable of either the direct translation from Greek letters into
English,
Latin letters.
Yeah.
And then the English names for them. So Patras is, I think it's Patra in Greek, and it's written as Patra everywhere. Mm-hmm. But in English, it's Patras.
Yes.
The same with Sparta, isn't it? Because that's Sparti.
Yeah.
In Greek, and when it's written in Latin letters over there, it's Sparti. I think they even say Sparti, don't they?
I think so.
But in English, it's Sparta.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
I'm not sure why.
No, it's like in this episode we'll cover Nafplio.
Yeah.
Which in English is actually Nafplion.
Yes.
Which doesn't sound as nice as Nafplio. Nafplio sounds nicer.
But we had the same thing with Sunio and Sunion, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then Athens and Athena. That's also a different thing. But
yeah, so we were up in Patras or Patra, which is the largest city in the Peloponnese.
It is, yeah.
Peloponnese being, if you got the mainland of Greece, and it's kind of split into two, with the Gulf in the middle.
Yep.
And the Peloponnese is the big bit south. It's the southern part of it. And Patras is, if you go to the Peloponnese on a cruise, you will land in Patras. That's the place. And it was the largest city we'd seen in Greece at this point.
Yes.
Because we'd come in kind of, I can't remember the name of the town we landed in the ferry. Igoumenitsa. So that's kind of halfway down the top half of the country, if you like. And so we missed Thessaloniki.
Yeah.
We hadn't been to Athens yet.
Nope.
And nowhere else we'd been to. I don't think there are any. Well, there aren't. Kalamata is the second biggest city in the Peloponnese, and Patras was considerably larger than that.
Yeah, definitely.
And we were only going there. It sounds daft looking on a map how far we drove, literally just to pick up a camera from the electronics store.
Yeah. Which
I said last week, and I didn't write it down this week, so I can't remember the name of the electronic chain. Kostelofos or something.
I think it's
Columbus. It's basically it's the Greek equivalent of Curry's PC World.
Yeah.
So we went up just to get a camera, and Patras. I said this is a weird time we were there because lockdown restrictions had eased. Greece was no longer under lockdown within its country. Excuse me. However, many tourist attractions and all museums and such were still closed. So I think sporting events couldn't go on.
No
big public gatherings.
No, nothing indoors.
Or even some outdoor, like we found in Monemvasia. And the upper part of the city has the walkways, the footpaths.
The narrow paths.
They're closed because they cannot guarantee people keeping. There's no way of to allow people. I do no words. There's no way of even allowing the space for people to keep 2 meters apart if they cross on footpaths. And we hadn't really looked a lot at Patras, but it was suddenly like it's a very busy, packed streets. The coastal road comes in, and you just one side of you is just a city, and the other side is just rows of cruise liners.
Yeah,
which is where a lot of people will come into Greece. because they do organise. There are organised planned routes for motorhome trips, excursions all around the Peloponnese.
Yeah.
And they all start at Patras.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you come. That's where you get your motorhome if you want to rent it, and off you go. But there is, considering you are in the largest city on the landmass, parking was plentiful and reasonably priced.
Yes. Yeah.
And in convenient locations if you are going into the shops. And people were out. It was, considering the country had just come out of lockdown. And once again, Greece, the lockdown in Greece, which you were telling me is now back in.
It is, yeah.
At time of recording. They're now back under these restrictions. You have to fill out a form whenever you go out. Mm-hmm. Or send a text message saying why you're out.
Yep, there's a list of 6 reasons, I believe, that you have to choose from as to why you're leaving the house. And apparently in certain places, police checks have been more...
more of them.
Yeah.
An increase in them, yeah.
Than last time.
Yeah.
So.
Because we only we only went out about 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. Because we were just going shopping once a fortnight.
Yeah, once every 2 weeks, wasn't it? Yeah.
And we only got stopped once.
Yeah.
But then you're in the south of the Peloponnese, you're in Laconia. There's not.
Yeah, that's.
People are few and far between.
Exactly.
But yeah, Patras seemed like a nice enough place, but there wasn't anything there for us to do.
I think we could have explored it more if we wanted a city day.
Yes.
But we were literally just picking up the camera and popping into Lidl for our shop and then leaving again.
Because at this point we were, because I don't think we talked about this, we'd booked an Airbnb in Athens. We were going to spend a week in Athens.
Yes.
But before that, we wanted the week before that to be, that was when the museums and all the ancient historical sites were set to reopen.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we had plans, right, we'll go around here, and then we're basically killing time, I suppose.
A little bit, yeah.
Until the museums opened, and we could go visit all them and all the other historical sites that we wanted to before going to Athens for a week. So we were up that way anyway. So we just plucked up Patras, that has a gadget shop the electronics store that actually has this camera in stock, so we went and got that. And then we headed out for the night towards a taverna on the beach called Iono Blue, which is near the town of Vardar on the west coast. Okay. And that was similar to Asopos, just, it's a taverna with a big area for parking, and they're quite happy for people to park up and spend the night. We went and got a drink. That's when they had the kind of the tiki bar sort of thing on the beach.
Yes.
The straw umbrella-y things. And we got looked at funny for asking for a hot coffee.
A normal coffee.
Because we hadn't experimented with proper Greek coffee yet.
No.
Because they're cold, they're Freddos or they're frappes.
No.
We hadn't had them yet. So we asked for a coffee. And, you want it cold? And no, hot. And I remember she looked at us like, what? It's 30 degrees. What do you want a hot coffee for?
Because hot coffees are nice in the summer. I like them.
And then we went for a bit of a swim in the sea.
Oh, we did, didn't we? Yes.
Testing out, so I've just bought this camera. And it was cheaper because you're in Greece. It's a little bit cheaper than it would be in the UK. It was a GoPro Hero 7?
I think it was a 7.
I think it's a 7, but it's waterproof, and you don't have to put it in a waterproof case.
Yeah.
And they tell you that, and it's written all over it. It's like, just make sure the lid's shut over the SIM card, SD card, and it's fine. So yeah, I understand it says that, but it's terrifying to then take that into the sea. And because you're on the west coast of Greece, that's like open Mediterranean Sea. Yeah. It's choppy, which is quite fun. It's fun in itself.
It's choppy to say the least.
Yes.
Like those waves get big.
Yeah. It's no good for filming because it's all churned up, all the sand and seaweed and everything else. And you have to keep an eye on your stuff you've left on land because you'll start drifting down back towards the bar which you just walked away from.
Yeah.
Something we didn't mention last week, which we did continue to sort out at this Iono Blue Taverna, we'd actually sprung a leak. On our water system. We completely forgot to mention it.
Yeah.
If you did listen last week, you might remember the bit we were trying to get to a beach on the south coast of Greece, and we ended up going down farm roads, perilous
death roads.
I still think that was the most stressful drive of the entire trip. Considering we drove through Russia, that's something. Excuse me.
You drove through St. Petersburg on a Friday night rush hour, so...
Yeah, this was worrying me more than that. It was after... Because that night we stopped at a campsite. Mm-hmm. And we noticed, just by turning the water pump on, it was... Whenever we turned it on, it was having to pump a lot of water to fill the system. So we thought, right, this system is emptying somewhere. And it turns out... We don't know whether it was because of the death road, but it's likely that it was.
Yeah.
Because of the death road. We were leaking water, just a little bit, just drips. And because when you turn the pump off, it only empties what's in the pipes at that time. Mm-hmm. So we weren't in any danger of suddenly waking up with no water.
Yeah.
But we were dripping water all over the place.
Yeah.
And when we were at that beach, I can't remember where it was now, one of the beaches we stopped at, I think 2 nights before this, you'd spend about an hour under the van.
Yes.
Because you're smaller than me, you can fit under there better.
Mm-hmm. Sure, we go with that excuse, shall we?
We undid it all, we taped it all up. I think we double layered duct tape all around it.
Yeah.
And we were still having leaking problems. You luckily had is it a bicycle puncture repair kit?
Yeah, because we were supposed to take foldable bikes with us.
We were.
Which we, like the day before we left, realised that they wouldn't fit in the back box.
Yeah.
So we just...
if you've seen photos, if anyone's followed us on Instagram, see photos of the van, on the back, our van is unique in more than just the colour scheme. In that there's just this big metal box
attached to her bottom.
Hanging off the back of the van. And that's because the previous owners had it mounted, I think. They've got his wife's mobility scooter in there. So we thought, well, they fit a mobility scooter in there. We get 2 folding bikes.
That should work fine.
Yeah. No.
Turns out no.
Just about managed to fit 1 folding bike in there. It ended up being a bit of a saving grace, really, because it then just became our shed.
Kind of, yeah. All of Dargo's spare food was in there.
Spare food, hose pipes,
electric cables, things like that.
Leads, all sorts of stuff went in there. Especially after we spent a day next to that lake, doing a bit of putting a shelf in there.
Oh yeah.
Because we then found out after putting a shelf in there, we realised that whoever had mounted it out of square. The entire van was a bodge by whoever did it, and I suppose it's our fault for not doing it ourselves.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So we mounted the shelves, and then went to shut the door, and the door wouldn't shut.
Yes, because the door had been hung on an out of square box.
Wonky box.
So yeah, we had the bicycle repair kit. So we got all the duct tape off, put that on, and then taped it back up again, and that did work for a while.
It did. Then
it started going again, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's a rubber sealant, so I'm not sure how much rubber was left on that part of the hose pipe when I put it on.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
So we did that there, and that's also where that huge, I think it's probably the largest.
I think so.
Rolling home. We saw. It was a French. I don't know whether it's a camper van or a motorhome. It's bigger than both. I think because of the livery on the side of it. It clearly used to be an old like racing team van or something. Yeah. It was this giant yellow. I'm sure it was like 3 floors.
It must have been
this huge truck thing, and it was the mom and the dad.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 kids.
3
young kids and 2 dogs.
2 dogs, yeah.
One of which was a puppy. Who did come to say hello to Dargo, and Dargo did
not like it. Puppy was very friendly though.
Yeah, but that was easily the biggest vehicle.
Yeah.
We think like it must be so roomy in there. And we had the discussion a lot. You see a lot of these vehicles, especially the big German off-road looking things.
Yeah. Which
are just tanks on monster truck wheels.
Yep.
You do think they must be incredibly spacious, comfortable. Living in there must be really good. But then the flip side of that, there are some roads which you could still do, maybe not in that big yellow thing, but maybe some of the bigger German ones.
Yeah.
Southern France was the one that always comes to mind with me when we got stuck just trying to do a T-junction.
Yeah.
Because of traffic coming the other way.
Oh, Pool, that was that.
Yeah. And in a Renault Master minibus, that's bad enough. And imagine you're in an old... you would have to get a dedicated sat nav for that. You
would.
And there are just some roads you wouldn't be able
to imagine if we ended up on Death Road with that.
Well, yeah. But I think if we'd have got that, we'd have paid, because it's about £200-300, aren't they? Like dedicated motorhome sat navs. I think if you have something that big, you really need to pay that little bit extra for that sat nav.
Yeah. Well, you'd need a lorry one really if it was that size. Yeah. That wasn't motorhome size.
No, that was
not
huge. There's nothing on the market I think you can buy. Maybe not in Europe anyway, because I've never seen a Winnebago.
No.
They're the big American ones, but then their roads are built for that sort of thing.
Exactly, they're straight.
Well, they did have one on top. There was one on Top Gear once, I remember. It was like top of the range. It's basically a coach. But it has a garage in it, and it had, I think it came with the car, like out of the side of it, this platform comes out, and it was like an E-Type or something in there, or something like that. It can't have been an E-Type, but yeah, they do get ridiculous. But driving that around Europe, especially places like Greece,
it's okay if you're prepared to not venture off the beaten path too much, because the main roads of Greece and most of Europe are fine.
Yeah.
But it's as soon as you come off the main roads, that's where you're going to have issues. But then, even in the medium-sized towns, they get lorries.
Yeah, lorries
coming
do get
in
most
and things
places,
like that. But imagine trying to park up in a little car park in that thing. You're going to take up 4 bays.
Well, they must have had, I mean, something like that you could. They probably have a garage. There probably was a garage on the back of that, I think, with scooters in or something.
Maybe, yeah.
And I think that would be the ideal for that. Then you park up at a taverna and then get, because that's what the Polish couple were doing while we were in lockdown, weren't they? They had a little scooter on the back, and they park up, and when they want to go to the shops on the scooter, boom, off you go.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot better. I mean, that's fine when you're in Greece in the summer. I don't know what that'd be like in Norway in the winter.
Or Russia. In
November. Yeah, so we were up on the Peloponnese, just take that as its own. We were kind of on the top left corner of it. Mm-hmm. And our next destination was Tripoli, which is basically diagonally down to the right, across all the mountains.
Yes.
But the other situation we had, which is the first time we'd come into this issue, the taverna had water points available, but it wasn't clean water.
No,
I filled a bottle up and sort of looked at it. I think you pointed out.
Yeah.
That's
it looked green.
Yeah. And there was a guy, like a lot of these tavernas, there's usually people who just set up their caravan and they live there permanently. And he's looking after his bit of grass and all this. So we asked him, is this drinkable? He went, no. He said, for washing and cooking, yeah. For drinking, no. Go to the shops.
Yeah.
We weren't urgent for water anyway, but it did mean on our little trip over the mountains, which was really nice.
It's the Peloponnese.
It's the Peloponnese. It's
hella scenic.
Everything's just scenic. And we actually ended up, we crossed over another dam, which we hadn't done since Morocco, which was alongside Pineos Lake at the town of Kentro.
Okay.
There you go.
Sure.
And yeah, I remember that was the drive where you're just following the edge of mountains, and then there's just where 2 mountains kind of come into each other and join. There's just a village in that kind of hairpin corner, just up top of a mountain somewhere. And we did also start seeing bullet holes in some of the road signs.
We did.
So you're like, okay, you're in the sticks now.
People have guns here.
But this is where we found there was just a rest point, just a patch. There was some sort of monument, but it was all in Greek, so I couldn't read it. And didn't know what it was. And there was just a spring fountain.
Yeah, which are very readily available across Greece. But this was, I think, the first one that we stopped at.
Yeah, it's the only one we ever had to use.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the not argument, but kind of like a lot of other European countries have water points for camper vans and motorhomes built into rest areas, sort of dotted around. Greece doesn't have any of these.
No.
But they do have these fountains, and it's most churches in villages, and just a lot of villages will have them. And it's cold, clean water.
Yeah.
So we just filled up all our bottles with them, hoped it was as clean as it appeared.
Yeah.
And it was. We were fine.
It was. We're still here.
And then carried on over to Tripoli. That's when we actually ended up going through a lot of, clearly out of season, because this was early June in the summer now, ski resorts.
That was cool.
And then because suddenly you're in amongst green mountains. It feels like Switzerland again.
Yeah.
Mainly because you see a ski resort and green hills. Like, okay, this is
Switzerland.
This is Switzerland. Why not?
Can't be anywhere else.
Can't be anywhere else.
I just thought, sorry, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit.
Of course.
We said about bullet holes in signs. I just realised that us as British people, that's a normal stance to have. As in, oh no, people have guns here.
Yeah.
But we have listeners in America.
That's a good point.
And other places like that. To them, that must sound so odd.
Yeah.
Like, yes, and...
Yeah. That's how you practice.
My grandma has 5.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah,
you know, I've never thought about it like that before.
It's not. It's something you notice, and it's something like, I hope we don't break down. Well, no, we never felt unsafe.
No,
because there's no one around. You're literally in the middle of. That's why people go up there to shoot their guns, because there's no one around.
There's nobody around.
And it's better they're shooting road signs than shooting people.
Yes.
I've no idea what the gun laws are in
Greece. No, me neither.
Or anywhere else really. It's not something we really looked at.
No.
It's certainly nothing we saw other than border crossings. Mm-hmm. In fact, even like in Russia, none of the border guards had guns.
No. No.
The only ones that did was on the Eurotunnel coming back into the UK. Actually, because the French military searches.
That was the army, though.
Yeah,
I think they're allowed to have guns.
Well, yeah, but they got the military checking people coming onto the Eurostar.
Brexit's happening, okay?
Yeah,
we're making sure.
No, that is a good point. That's a fair point.
I just always assumed that throughout the EU or most of Europe, that guns were just not allowed.
Yeah, well,
no, that's interesting.
I don't think the police didn't have them in Morocco or anything. I think I did see some armed people in St. Petersburg.
Yeah,
some officials.
But that was army walking around.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go. Yeah. Weird.
Yes. Maybe somebody will tell us.
Hopefully, yes.
Well, we have listeners from all over the place. Maybe they can tell us their rules if they.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say, like, if you're an American listening and you're driving along and you see a road sign with bullet holes in it, is that something?
Do you just think, oh, they had a good Friday night, or do you think, oh my god, these people have guns?
Yeah. You think, oh, this is rough, or this is, oh, okay, there's an active shooting community. No, that even sounds bad. No. I don't know.
Do you think they're just playful youth, or are you scared?
God, we sound so sheltered talking like that.
Speak for yourself.
Anyway, we were heading to Tripoli.
Yes, sorry.
Because we had heard there were historic sites there.
Yes.
Turns out the historic sites in Tripoli, unless Google has lied to us and we completely missed something amazing, is not actually in Tripoli. There's also many Tripolis in the world.
There are, yes.
Apparently the one everyone knows is in Libya.
Yes.
That's like a more famous
That's the historic one, because every single time I said, oh, we're going to Tripoli, people were like, wait, not in Greece anymore? I was like, oh, no, there are more.
There are more.
There are 3 that I know of. That's Libya, Lebanon, I think, and Greece.
Yeah.
There's probably one in America.
But it turns out the Tripoli in Greece does not have the historical sites. It's actually just outside of Tripoli in a town called... I've written it down and cannot see it. Tajir. There you go. Where have I written that down? Let me see where I am.
Right there.
Oh, there we go. Tajir. There we go. And we parked... It happened, the place we picked on Park for Night to park up for the night was the car park for the historical, the archaeological park, sorry.
Yes.
And there were a couple of motorhomes already parked up there, but they were just leaving.
Yeah, they were packing up and leaving.
And we'd actually just seen, we logged on later and saw they just
left a
review on there saying how good it was. I think they'd been there 2 nights and they were off. So we had the place to ourselves.
We did.
Nice and quiet. We were under trees, so certain times of year, that is terrifying. And there were a couple of things falling out of the trees onto the van.
Yeah.
It's not only terrifying because it makes you jump, but also you're worried about the solar panels.
And the cat.
And the cat, yeah. More the solar panels. But
good to know where your priorities lie.
Yeah, so the next morning we went and had a walk around the the archaeological park. And it's just a big public park around there's an Orthodox church there, which is it's a lot newer than the other stuff in the park. And there are just Greek and Roman ruins dotted around. And they've just planted trees all around them. There's some more modern things. I think there was a statue to the unnamed soldier.
Yep.
And there was an Olympic thing.
There were busts of Olympic, like, not founders.
No,
but like supporters or something. Yeah, it was committee members.
I think the people who got, when obviously Greece used to have the Olympics, but they had it early 2000s. I think it was in Greece again, or maybe the late 20th century. Not sure. And they were the people who brought it back to Greece that 1 year, sort of thing. I know it was great. We actually went back to the van because there was no one else there.
Yeah.
Went back to the van and got Dargo and let her have a good walk around in amongst the trees.
Yeah, because she hadn't done that in a little bit, and after coming out of lockdown, you know.
Yeah, she kind of been cooped up a bit. So we took her for a good run. And there was a couple of museums there. But of course, they were closed, unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions. And we came all the way round to what we thought was the end. Turned out to be the front. We just missed it. There was a big map which shows other things in the area. Like there was a lake. I think it was an artificial lake.
Yes.
Away, about a 50-minute drive maybe. But we saw that there was a temple to Athena, a 50-minute walk away. Yeah. In the next village. And we thought, well, yeah.
It was a nice day.
We'll go do that. Lovely day. So we had a nice walk on the quiet country lane sort of roads. And it's so... I think it kind of sums up, because we've said before how in Greece they just have, like in Sparta, like you just have ruins between buildings.
Yeah.
This is kind of like that. Like this little village, which is built all around this temple of Athena in the middle. And yeah, there's a big fence all the way around it, and all the houses are built up to the fence, basically. There was a gate to get in. Unfortunately, it was closed because of COVID. Big notice stuck to the front of the gate. No entry is closed to the public because of restrictions. Which is unfortunate, because we could have easily stayed 2 meters apart from everybody because there was nobody one else there. But we still did a bit of a walk around, had a look at the ruins through the fence again, as we'd seen everything else up to this point. And took a nice walk back to the van.
Yeah. Because
our next destination was the amphitheatre at Argos.
Yes, it was.
Back up the north, which is about a 2-hour drive, I think, from there.
I think so.
And it's the same road we took when we came south from Corinth to Sparta. Yeah. And it's such a good road.
It's an amazing road.
Do not take the toll road when you're going down that way unless you're really in a rush. It's such a good... We ended up doing it about 4 or 5 times.
We did.
It's such a good road. Definitely worth just the mountains and twisty roads, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
That's an absolutely fantastic road. We got to Argos, famous for its catalogues and
knickknacks.
No, for any non-British listeners, Argos is I don't even know what kind of shop it is. Like it's a high street department store, I suppose. But nothing is on the shelves. You get a catalogue, and you ask for the number. You get the number of the product, and then they have everything in the back.
Yeah.
And then they bring it out to you, and once you've bought it. So now we're in the town of Argos. And whenever I was telling my dad, he goes, "Oh, make sure you get a catalogue." Yeah, all right. But they also have this huge theatre.
Yes.
Which sort of looms over the town. We parked up in a big... Now, this is a bit of a tip, which I was going to bring up later. Bring it now. There are signs dotted around the town for ancient site parking. We followed them. They don't take you anywhere.
No.
They just sort of lead you around in circles.
Yeah.
We did eventually see parking. I wrote it down. It's like public parking for Argos. When I get to the note, which is... I'll mention this later on. We come back to Argos. That's the place to be. It's a big, open, bit of gravelly dirt sort of thing.
Yeah.
Next to some orange trees, and it's about a 10-minute walk to the ancient site. So we parked up. We walked over there. It was 4:01 when we arrived. Turns out the site's closed at 4. So that was the end of that. And they were closed the next day.
Yeah.
I think. So we're like, right, okay. So we instead decided to go to Nafplio, which is just round the little bay, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to Argos on the way south, because we were going to be heading back down south to get to Sparta once the museums reopened. So we went to Nafplio, which is it's the former capital of Greece.
Yes. So before Athens, it was the capital of Greece.
Yeah, and it's also one of the big tourist. Well, I say big. It's a very popular tourist destination.
Yeah.
And we actually parked up. They do have a beach there, but it's very small.
It is very small, and a lot of the coastline around Nafplio it's man-made.
Yes.
Most of it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But there is coastline.
There was a little bit of coastline. We parked up on... So you got the big car park sort of on the top of a... Because it's all built on a steep hill. And you have to walk down to get to this very small little beach. But all around the side of next to the beach are a couple of beach bars.
Yeah.
And if you get parked on just the right part of the car park, you can pick up the Wi-Fi from the beach bar. But we went down and we got a drink. The thing I did like about that place, despite the small beach, is that the beach bar goes right up to, like I say, they've made like an artificial coast, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the concrete floor goes out into the sea, and there are just steps down
to the sea.
The sea, right next to where you can set up to have a drink.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice idea. I like that. But it was quite busy when we were there.
I don't think the ladies were very impressed when they got splashed by the waves, though.
No.
Which is just like, well, what else were you expecting, love?
Yeah, like the water's literally about 6 inches from your ankles, so, and it waves, it bobs a bit. Yeah. But no, we went there. So this was late. Well, it was evening by this point. So we had ourselves a nice drink and just went and chilled out in the van for the next day when we would explore. Nafplio also had is it the Citadel?
Yes,
on
it is.
The top of another cliff. So we're parked on a cliff, and then behind us is another cliff.
Yeah.
And it's several thousand steps.
Yeah.
I think, and the signs at the bottom saying like, buy some water before you go up, because it's a long way up and it gets hot.
Do you know what you're planning to do?
We didn't do that. We didn't do the steps. We just looked at it and thought, as much as I would have liked to have got up there, and saying it now,
there was no guarantee it was open.
Well, there was that as well. Yeah, no guarantee it was open. I thought that's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
We might die.
Yeah.
Let's go look at the old town instead.
Yeah. Which I preferred.
I did. The old town. Again, it's kind of because of the time we were there. It was very quiet.
Yeah.
Most places were open. Pretty much all the restaurants were. Most of the shops were. So restrictions were very much eased, not completely eased.
No.
There were other museums and I think some galleries.
Yes.
Which were closed.
Yeah.
You couldn't go in. But no, Nafplio, was the old capital city of Greece, or what became known as Greece.
I think so.
Greece has got one of those histories.
Nafplio was still the capital when the Greek independence happened.
Oh, okay.
In 1821, I want to say off the top of my head.
Okay.
From the Ottomans. So yeah, Athens became the capital after that. I don't know if in the past Athens was the capital. It must have been, I'd imagine.
Not sure. Well, it's tricky, isn't it? Because when people talk about Greece,
it
like you say, it wasn't one country.
No.
No. But no, we walked through. So Nafplio is quite easily divided into the old town and the new town.
New town, yeah.
By a road. And the old town, it's an old walled town. And we walked all the way down through the tight cobbled streets. Yeah, it's just a nice
It's a very nice.
It's an ancient Mediterranean town.
Yeah,
and it's just really, you can see why tourists like it there. You know, walked all the way to the port on the far side. It's all through the old town, and that looks out onto Bortzi Castle.
Okay.
You remember the thing that was out at sea, which was under construction at this, but not under construction. It was covered in scaffolding. Unfortunately,
this is our luck.
But there's also right on the west coast, there are something called the Five Brothers.
Oh yes, cannons.
The cannons, yeah. And then that's the only remnants of the lower wall built around the town in 1502. The cannons were placed there by the Venetians in around 1690, and they're the same cannons that are still there, which is amazing because you can climb on them.
Yeah.
They're just there. I think one of them had sort of fallen off its mounting a little bit. And they all bear the winged lion of St. Mark. So I'll have to go back and watch the video I got of it to see that. But yeah, there you go. So that was pretty cool. And then you're down, Nafplio's got a huge port as well, which has all the what do you call them, restaurants, bars and things all along. And the thing I liked about that is, because when you go to some tourist places, like say Amsterdam's one that always springs to mind. But you walk along and there's a row of restaurants and bars or whatever, and there'll be people stood at the door waiting to sort of greet you,
yes,
to get you in and sit, usher you in, and they'll sort of come out, oh hey, do you want to come in on all this? And you're like, no, I don't, like, I've walked past the last 7 guys, I'm not going to say yes to you. But the guys, and this is a general rule for Greece as well, generally, they won't approach you.
No.
They're there if you want them.
Yeah.
Like if you think, oh, well, I wonder if they have this, they're there to answer that for you, but they won't say, hey, do you want to come in here?
Yeah. Do you want to look at this? No.
Yeah. Which is nice. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we kind of walked through the top of the old town, and we did go into the new town.
We did.
Which is just a city. Well, it's a city. I suppose it's a city because it's a capital city, but it's a very small city. I say it used to be the capital, but it's smaller than Patras and Kalamata.
Yeah.
There was quite a nice, the big park that we walked through.
Through the middle?
Yeah, through the middle, yeah.
I think that's where the government buildings were.
I think you're right. There was also an outdoor cinema there, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
Which was closed.
Of course.
Because everything's closed. But we were heading that way because there was a big lion statue. Mm-hmm. And you just told me there was a lion in a rock. So I had no idea what I was expecting. Thinking about it now, I've just remembered because there's Lion Rock in Cheddar Gorge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't that. So it was just a huge sleeping lion.
Yeah.
Carved into a cliff.
Yeah.
And there's a little park around it, which is really nice. But other than that, it's just kind of surrounded by like
houses.
Just
and flats.
Not even particularly nice looking houses, just houses. But no, that's the Lion of the Bavarians. This is according to the Nafplio Tourist Board. Okay. This is their information. It was carved directly into the cliff between 1840 and 1841 by a German sculptor called Christian Siegel, who was the first professor of sculpture at Athens Polytechnic.
Oh, okay.
There you go. I don't know whether that means he was the first one or he's like the first, at the top.
Oh, I see.
Okay. It doesn't. That's literally all it says. There is an inscription there in German, which says it was commissioned by Ludwig of Bavaria, who was the father of Otto, who was the first king of Greece.
Oh, okay.
So the first king's dad. In memory of the Bavarian soldiers of Otto's escort who died during the typhoid epidemic, which devastated the area between 1833 and 1834.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
Cool.
So we did that. We went back into the old town, got a very nice meal.
We did.
So the restaurants,
nice,
restaurants are still open, and we felt a bit bad for the guy because he has to be outdoor seating.
Yes.
Which in Greece, no problem.
Yeah.
But we were in an alleyway, which happens to channel any wind that comes through, and they come out.
And it was windy.
I don't know whether they do this normally because I've never been to Greece when there's not been an epidemic on, but they always come out with like the paper table coverings.
Oh yeah, they do that normally. Yeah.
Oh okay. So he's trying to clip this table thing down,
and
the wind's just taking it, and it's like, oh, well, we can't go and sit inside.
No.
And we just kind of have to sit there, like, okay, just give us something to weigh this down, please. But no, it's nice. Everyone in Greece, maybe it's because it's quieter and they can take the time, but they want to know where you're from and where you're going and things like that. And it was in Nafplio where we realised we went into a shop just to have a look because it had all statues and things.
Oh yes, I remember.
And the guy starts talking. He says, "Oh, if you need any help, let me know. We've got deals on at the moment, things like this." And he says, "Oh, where are you from?" And we say England. Now, so this is early June.
Yeah.
Anyone who watched the news during early June might know that the UK was, I think at this point...
We were topping the charts,
yeah,
shall we say.
Topping the European table. I think we were second only to America at this point.
Yeah.
In terms of cases and
deaths.
And when you tell someone in Greece who was being held up as the example of how everybody should have handled it, that you're from England, this guy literally took a step back.
Yeah.
And we were like, no. We've been here since March. We got stuck here. We got stuck here.
We're safe.
Yeah. So that started becoming like habit. It was like, oh, where are you from? England, but we've been here since March. Just to put people's mind, like, we're not breaking quarantine.
No.
Or we haven't run away from lockdown or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, no, we got stuck here in March, and now we're taking our time. And yeah, the couple in there, they gave us, which I couldn't find, obviously we've moved house, everything's everywhere. They gave us the piece of like the card they have for the restaurant, shows you the history of the building.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which is cool. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we have kept it somewhere, but
it's in the souvenir box.
Oh, there you go.
I'm pretty sure.
Which is in the pile of boxes.
Yes.
The box in the boxes.
Yes.
So that was just an extended day in Nafplio, which is I highly recommend Nafplio. It's a really nice place.
It was a very nice place. Yeah.
It'd be nice to go back again with the museums and galleries open.
Yeah.
So we're heading off to our next stop, which wasn't too far away, maybe about an hour away, outside the town of, here we go, Ligurio, at the Church of Agia Marina, which wasn't really a church, more of a chapel.
Yes.
And we learned the difference between a chapel and a church. A chapel has no specific congregation or people looking after it.
No permanent congregation.
That's it. So people just rock up when you want. And there was a very vocal cat.
There was
outside, and there were food bowls left outside the chapel.
Yeah.
With people obviously looking after the cat. And we saw a tortoise.
We did. Your first ever tortoise.
My first ever tortoise in the wild. And we did have a bit of a look in the chapel, and there was some incense stuff left.
Yeah, it was quite nice.
So it was a little bit creepy, maybe.
There's no lights.
Yeah.
Or windows, really.
Yeah, there's a couple of slits in the stone.
Yeah.
To let light in, but yeah, that was also near because we saw the signposts for it, and when you look for the spot on Google, it pops up on it. It's the ruins of a pyramid-shaped tower. You think, ooh. Well, that sounds interesting.
I wonder what this is.
Unfortunately, all that's left is just a square of stone in the floor, and it's like, okay, and it's just surrounded by, because you're just in amongst farmland, really.
Yeah.
You're on the outskirts of the town, and it's just a square of stone in the floor. It's like, okay, this isn't. I'm not saying it wasn't pyramid shaped, but I mean, trees is how they knew that, you know.
Maybe there's old paintings of it.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe there are paintings of it in the church, in the chapel. That's also the first road as we were driving down to that, because it was a dirt track that we came down.
Yeah.
And you were driving fairly slow, and I had the window open.
Yeah.
And that's where Dargo first put her paws up on the windowsill and stuck her face out to see what was going on, like a little dog.
Realise her inner dog.
Yes.
It comes
out.
Having a look at the sheep as we went past. So,
and I waved to the farmer.
You did, yeah. And we spent a nice quiet night there once the local cat stopped.
Yes.
Meowing, very vocal. We fed the cat before we left.
We did.
And our next destination was Salanti Beach, which again was another hour away. We were also rather close. We drove rather close to what's the theatre called? Epidavros Theatre, which is the big famous theatre. They still
active.
They still do performances there. We really wanted to go there. It was €12 each to get in. So it's €24.
Yeah.
So we can't justify that.
No.
It was unfortunate.
It was that, and plus we were, because the plan was to, after this, do all the main sites that we'd been waiting to do in the Peloponnese and the museums.
Yeah.
It was...
We were going to be spending money anyway, and this was... Okay, no. So unfortunately we couldn't do that. But we were going to Salanti Beach, which has a bit of a history. So we had to go up and over and down again a load of mountains. And Salanti Beach, it's famous because there's a huge abandoned hotel.
Yeah. And
it's huge to Greek standards, because outside of the cities there are no real hotels. No. They're just houses. But this is a big...
This is big, 8-9 stories?
At least. Big rectangular thing. And it just stands out. You can see it as you start coming down the mountain behind it. It stands out so much. And it has it's an old resort.
Yeah.
Which was built... Okay, here we go. We're going to remember these facts now. In the very early 80s, as a nudist resort.
Yes. As Greece's first.
And only, I think, at the time.
Yes.
Well, yeah, first. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a crazy golf course. There was a swimming pool.
Yeah.
There was all sorts of other
several
stuff. Bars, tennis courts, basketball courts, all the rest of it. And it had its own beach.
Yeah.
But then the locals from the nearby village didn't like it because they're nudists. Yeah. And obviously it's an Orthodox country. And am I right in saying they literally stormed the beach?
Yes, it was the old ladies from the town they stormed the beach.
By boat. They came by sea and chased. Because it was really big with Germans.
Yeah.
That was the main demographic.
Yeah.
And they basically chased them out because they didn't want them. No, they had fences up, am I right in saying? There were fences all around everywhere so no one could see in.
Yes.
To give them some privacy?
Yeah, so like the townspeople couldn't see in to anywhere that was a hotel property, including that beach.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any like
you couldn't accidentally see a bit
exactly
of nuts. But yeah, they stormed the beach and chased them out. And the hotel, I think it carried on for about a year.
It did. It tried to carry on and then just didn't happen.
No.
And it shut down and has never reopened.
No.
Since, which is so sad because it's an incredible location. Yes, the beach is a little bit pebbly.
Yeah, the beach is. But it was certainly I'd not seen a beach before or since like it. So it's a very long beach in a kind of little bay.
Yeah.
And it's just covered in like white stone.
Yeah, they're white pebbles.
White pebbles, and it gets so deep so quickly. Like you take about 3 steps out, and suddenly you're neck deep.
Yeah.
But it's such calm, still water.
Yeah.
It was a really good beach. But this hotel there's nothing stopping you going in.
No.
So we went for a bit of a walk around, and we came in from the beach through the old paths which lead to it, and you come past the old crazy golf course.
Yep.
The basketball courts. You see the big swimming pool.
Yep.
Which had like an island in the middle, which had a bar on it.
Yeah.
There was a bridge crossing over to it, but I thought I don't want to walk over that. No. There's some stagnant water in that pool, which smells a bit, and there was a load of beehives over the other side.
On the other side, yeah.
And around the other side of the building, there was like a really small concrete theatre they'd built, and what looked like, I can only think was like a nightclub, like an outdoor nightclub.
Oh yeah, with a couple of bars and a raised dance floor and things like that.
But you can go in the hotel, and we went in. We didn't explore. We did go up to the first floor. But there's so much broken glass, bits of metal, walls being sort of knocked through, and we were in flip-flops.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back in big proper work boots and go up to the roof and have a look around. But
there is that sign that says "Don't go into room 823" or something.
There's graffiti everywhere. Because some of the graffiti was, how do I get upstairs?
Yeah.
And someone was like, follow this sign, and they've drawn like leading you up there. It was just really surreal. Like, you see the old, you walk into the reception, and there's still leaflets lying around. We did go in one of the bedrooms, which none of them had toilets. So they must have had to share.
They must have had shared.
Toilet. But there was a check-in ticket. It says what room you're in and where you've come from, things like that.
There was an invoice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really surreal, creepy kind of. Like, I'm not a believer of like ghosts or anything like that. Or
but if they're ever going to be,
I don't think there's monsters or murderers hiding everywhere. But like, you're in this abandoned hotel where like doors are slamming shut in the wind, and you're like, no, I don't like these noises. No, wouldn't you? But no, it was really cool, and that's I've seen on YouTube they have like airsoft and paintball tournaments. Yeah. People have gone there just to write studies about it, papers about it, things like that. It's such an interesting piece of history.
It is.
And you say it's a shame that no one's taken it up. Because it is a really good location. But I think we said when we were there, like, for such a hotel of that size, because there are now nudist places in Greece.
Yes.
Didn't the government basically step in and say, look, back off?
The history from Saladi Beach Hotel doesn't stop there, which is also quite cool because it set a precedent. So when that beach got shut down, the tourism minister, I think, or something like that, turned round to the government and said, we need this business.
Yeah.
Because losing nudist tourists cost them something like 300 million or something.
Yeah.
Which is a lot in the 80s.
Yeah.
So the man in charge of Greece at the time, Prime Minister, I think, sat down with the leader of the religious group.
Yeah.
Leader of the Christian religious group, and they spent apparently a whole day in there, and the religious leader came out and went and spoke to his subordinates and said, "We're supporting this, or you're going."
You going?
Like, you're fired, basically.
I see. Yeah.
So the religious people didn't really get much of a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever since then, there are plenty of nudist beaches and stuff around Greece. We didn't find any, though.
No, we didn't find any. Maybe they all have really good fences built around them. But no, that's the thing. Because there are now so many, that's why a hotel there, even if it is a nudist resort, it's not... There are other options available.
Yeah.
And it's so far away. I think they did do bus services from the airport and things. But when it's your only choice, people will do it.
Yeah.
But if there's more convenient locations, and that's such a huge, say on a Greek scale, outside of Athens, we never saw hotels that size.
It would have to have a specific pull, which it did at the time.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's there. I don't know what you could do there to be able to run a hotel of that size, plus all the work that they need doing on it.
Completely flip it and make it like a super strict religious resort.
Yeah, maybe.
Get rid of the naked people mural in the swimming pool.
Yeah, people just go there for penance and
no fun
at all. But no, it was really cool. It was a really surreal, sort of unique experience. Kind of like the shipwreck we talked about last week. Like, it's something that just wouldn't happen in the UK specifically, many other countries as well, but because health and safety is such a big thing, it'd be condemned, no entry, no, you can't go in. Probably would have been torn down by now.
Yeah. Turn into houses.
Or turn into houses. So after a bit of a swim and a bit of an explore, we went back to the same spot, the chapel, because the next day we were going to Argos.
Yes.
We were going to get up and make sure we got there before it closed. So we went there, and here it is. So it's the public parking space of Argos. That's how it's listed on Google. If you're going to drive to Argos, you want to visit the sites, that's where you go. So it's about 5-10 minute walk from the ancient site. Ancient site was €3 each to get in, but that's actually 2 sites it covers you for.
Yeah.
There's the theatre and the agora,
which is across the road.
Literally across the road.
Yeah.
And we were so lucky, again, because of the circumstances of us being in the country, we were the only people on this historical site. There was no one else there.
No.
And obviously it's dominated by the huge theatre, which was one of the was it the third largest in the amphitheatre? I
think so.
In the country, it was certainly one of the largest in.
It seated 20,000 people, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that obviously dominates the site.
Yeah.
Nearby there are the remains of Roman baths, because the Romans tarted up the theatre when they moved in, and the Roman baths were built over Greek things.
Over Greek baths. I want to say
something like that. Yeah. So you can't see any of the Greek bits there. No, it's all covered by the Roman stuff. And there was also a sanctuary to Aphrodite.
Yeah.
Around the corner. The only thing with that is the footpath wasn't clearly defined.
No.
We sort of had to tread through tall, quite hard grass to get to.
Yeah.
But then we think, okay, well, it's €3 to get in.
And they've been closed.
For
several months.
And tourism, like Greek tourism, was open, but international tourism wasn't a thing yet. In fact, I think that was the week after, as we left Athens, I think was when Greece was officially opening to international visitors.
Yeah.
I think. But then we just got to go to this theatre, and we were the only people there. We had our run of the place. You know, you stood on the stage while I walked up to the top, which nearly killed me because it's incredibly high. But you can actually see Nafplio.
Yeah, you can see Nafplio
really
from
cool.
the top.
Yeah, it was cool. So we were so lucky to get there on our own. And even if there are people there, it's €3 to get in.
Exactly.
And it is a short site. You can do it in an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe longer if you're shuffling around in a queue. I'm not sure. But it's definitely worth doing purely just to get to the top of the theatre and have a look around.
Take water.
Yes, take water. You'll need it. But then we went to the Agora site on the other side of the road. Now the Agora site was, I think, the oldest building in Argos, certainly. I think it was one of the earliest. It was like where they used to have meetings, and it was one of the earliest examples of like a democracy being set up. or something like that. No.
No. That's Athens.
Okay, what am I thinking?
I don't know.
Don't know. Okay, well, there's one of the oldest buildings of the area or something.
Well, you didn't mention up by the theatre there was a smaller theatre.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which was actually when the Romans came in, they covered it.
Yes.
But kept the circular seating.
Yeah.
And things like that. So that was kind of interesting, and that was used for council meetings and discussions.
Yeah.
And things like that, as opposed to entertainment purposes.
Yeah. No, yes, I had forgot about that. That's right. Yeah. The Agora on the other side. There is a building. It's certainly the oldest building in Argos. There's something else. We should research this. I thought I had it all in my head. The Agora was less impressive because I mean it's competing with the theatre, which is huge and literally dominates the town. But
we couldn't access half of the Agora site.
Yes,
because that hadn't been mown.
They hadn't cleared the walkways. There was an information point which we could see but couldn't get to read it. And a lot of the ruins are just like the bits of rock sticking out the floor, which were covered in grass.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't been keeping the grounds because it's been closed, which was unfortunate. But the theatre was worth getting. Was worth the €3 in itself. And down
in the Agora, you could see some of the old Roman pipes.
Yes, you could. There was something. There was another diddy little 3-seater theatre.
Which was an odd one because it was long and thin. Yeah. So rather than it being a circular one, it was literally just the seats were straight.
Yeah.
And sticking out a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
And there was also that weird gym promenade thing.
Yeah.
Down the middle, which was referenced several times, but I'm not sure it actually said what it was.
Yeah, but again, you couldn't really. There's no pillars. There's no old walls. It's just a row of rock in the floor. And and it's covered in grass. It's difficult to see the whole thing and sort of take it in, which was a shame. But it's several thousand years old, so there's only so much they can do with it.
Exactly.
But then we were leaving Argos.
We were.
But not before deciding to have to try one of these cold coffees
we'd heard so much about. Yes.
So we'd seen Freddo coffees listed everywhere, either Freddo Espresso or Freddo Cappuccino.
Yeah.
We didn't know what that meant.
No.
See, to me, Freddo is a chocolate bar, so it's chocolate cappuccino. But
no.
Freddo, I don't know whether it means cold.
I think it does.
So there's Freddos and there's Frappes.
Yes.
So a Freddo is just a cold cappuccino. Yeah. Or cold espresso, whereas a frappe is just a much stronger.
It is stronger.
Cold coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less foam.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct. So we had one of each.
We did. Forgot which one was which.
Yeah. Well, I like this one. Well, I like this. Well, what was that one? I don't know.
I have no idea what I'm drinking.
Good. This is going well. But we later found out through more experimentation we like the frappes.
Yes, frappes, so good.
Freddo cappuccinos are fine, but I'm not a big fan of cappuccinos anyway.
Too much foam.
It's just foam. That's the point of the drink.
I know.
Well, I'm just saying, so if you like that, then it's just a cold one of those. That's
but you've
great.
wasted milk.
Not if you enjoyed it.
It's too much air. Not enough milk.
So yeah, frappe. We had so many frappes.
We did.
We started making them ourselves once we settled down for a little while. The next day was when the museums were set to reopen. So this must have been on a Sunday. We thought, right, museums are opening. We want to go to Sparta because we'd been to Sparta twice and the ancient site was closed. Now we knew it was open. We knew the museums would be open. We needed to get down back to the south of the Peloponnese again. We also needed to use some water points, little service areas. We could try and find a campsite, another thing. We eventually settled on going back to Asopos again. Could not tear ourselves away from that place.
We'd go back now.
We'd go back now because it would cost us about just over £1,000 to drive there now. I think 2 weeks isolation, 2 weeks quarantine either side. That's fine. We're in a camper van. Just stay at the beach. It's fine. So yeah, we went back down. It's about 3 or 4 hour drive from Argos.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's up and down a lot of hills. And
some very, very steep hills.
Yeah. Through Sparta, funnily enough. But say we needed the facilities. Asopos had them. I think we had one last meal there.
I think we did.
And a bit of a swim. And then we went to Sparta. Finally. No, that's like we said in the episode, maybe 2-3 episodes ago, when we talked about Sparta, we'd seen some of it. Like, Sparta was where we sort of discovered that Greece just has ruins
everywhere.
Just there.
Where you discovered.
Sorry, yeah.
You discovered.
It's just like, there's the other side of the bus shelters, a sanctuary to Artemis. So, okay, cool.
Sweet.
The sanctuary is the bus shelter. Oh, I see. Okay. It's just such a blasé attitude to it. Again, Sparta's not it's not a touristy place.
No.
They don't rely on tourism there.
No. Not at all.
So much so that
not really. Yeah, not really.
There's a couple of bits. There's nothing. There's no like big hotels. It's not. It's not particularly. It's not like Nafplio.
No.
Which is very like, this is a touristy Greek place. Come here.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. It's just a town for Greek people.
Yeah.
There's a university there, so it's actually a student town.
Mm-hmm.
But the ancient site is right next to the stadium, which has the statue of Leonidas at the front. Mm-hmm. Which, while we were in Greece in lockdown, we saw the Olympic torch had come through there.
Yes.
And Gerard Butler had run the torch up the high street in Sparta. The high street. Because we got there and out the front they had the Greek flag, the Olympic flag, and the Japanese flag.
Yeah.
Because that's where the Olympics were they supposed to happen this year?
I think so,
Must have been, yeah. I'm guessing they didn't.
No.
No.
I wonder what they're going to do. Do they just skip Japan, or are they just...
delay everybody by 4 years? Or,
the Olympics didn't happen.
So around the corner from the stadium is a school. Mm-hmm. And in front of the school is just a big, very quiet road where you can park up.
Yeah.
So we parked up there, and the ancient site is literally around the back of this school. Mm-hmm. And there's no entry fee to get in.
No.
It's completely free. We parked up, and on the drive up, it's about an hour and a half drive from Asopos to Sparta. Mm-hmm. We'd done some shopping, and we brought lots of reflective screens for the van to try and keep the sun out as much as possible, because it's getting, it's mid-June now. It's getting warm.
Yeah.
And stick them all up in the window. We stop and have a bit of lunch before we go out, and kind of realise it's too hot in the van to leave Dargo.
Yeah,
we're a bit concerned about it, and because we'd looked at before, it's a concern we'd had for a while, and you were worried about it getting heat stroke.
Yeah,
and I think you'd found what was one of the symptoms of a cat with heat stroke.
The symptoms of a cat with heat stroke are panting, which is your first
sign.
Panting.
Yeah.
And being lethargic.
Yes. If your cat is lethargic, it may have heat stroke. Or it could just be a cat.
Cats by nature are lethargic.
How do we know she has heat stroke? So we ended up taking her with us.
Yeah.
We put her in a carry bag.
Yeah.
On a wet towel underneath, and then we had a wet towel over the top of the bag.
Yeah.
Covering the window, so any air coming in
would be cooler, and she wouldn't get any sun on the bag either.
Yeah. And because we had the place to ourselves, and we had her lead, we did let Dargo walk around ancient Sparta a little bit.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, of course she did.
When one is in Greece, one must. Well, she'd walked around a Roman ruin in Spain.
Oh, yes. Yes, in Piraeus, yeah.
So, we let her walk around some ancient Greek ruins in Sparta. There was quite a bit there at the ancient site.
There was.
That's where, I was about to say, that's where we learned the definition, or what a word meant, which we'd see written down so much. But I can't remember what the word
was.
Stoa, which is basically a shopping centre, isn't it?
It's a covered walkway.
With shops in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a little shopping centre. Stoa, that's right, that's the word. So there's a stoa that you can see, and then you walk around, and there's a newer church.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's actually post-Roman church. But then there was some, I think, a shrine to Athena.
Yeah, further
around, and that's at the top of the theatre, which was wider than the one in Argos, a little bit shorter in height.
Yeah.
And a lot more of it's missing.
Yes.
The problem with ancient Sparta, probably why they don't charge, I will say actually, considering it's completely free to get in, it's incredibly well presented.
Yeah.
There's proper footpaths that are well kept. There's very good information boards all over the place to tell you everything. Like, I feel the Argos one we had to pay for.
Yeah.
And it needed work being done to it. The Sparta one was free and was in better condition than the one we just paid for.
Yeah.
It sounds like a little nibble thing, but it's just interesting that it's so well looked after, considering no money comes in for it. Maybe it's funded by the EU or something, I don't know.
Maybe.
But it is where we found out...
Maybe it's funded by Gerard Butler
Maybe,
himself.
yeah. Unfortunately, with ancient Sparta, it was in the mid-1800s, I think, when they started building the new city of Sparta, the current city of Sparta. They just started pilfering all the materials from ancient Sparta.
Yeah.
Because all the rock and stone and that is already there. Why order it in? We'll get it from there. So a lot of ancient Sparta, I mean, it is still there. It's just a supermarket now.
Yeah.
Or a block of flats now.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But then they don't charge you to get in. So what you can see is... it's still really cool. I remember particularly there's... Fair enough, it won't be from ancient Sparta, but on top of the hill, near the Sanctuary of Athena... So maybe at the time it was an open sanctuary, the trees wouldn't have been there. But just before that there was the church.
Yeah.
And there were no trees around it, and you're on top of this hill. And we've said a couple of times how awe-inspiring the mountains to the west of Sparta are, the southwest of it. And you're on top of this hill, and you can just see over the new city, which obviously wouldn't have been there, but these mountains where myths are born from, you know? And you can see why, this is why you build a religious building here. That is one thing in Greece I noticed. I noticed it in Delphi. I think it's fair to say wherever there are temples and things, you're surrounded by this otherworldly landscape. You can see why they've built these things there. We did that. My camera started overheating.
It did.
Which shows how warm it was. My new GoPro was too warm to record in 4K. So I had to just set off for 1080p, which is fine because I only have 1080p monitors on my computers. But that left us with a decision. See, the rest of the week, and in fact the rest of that day, was supposed to be going to museums, and then we were going to go to Olympia, and do the ancient site there and the museum there. And Corinth, a few other places. But now the concern was the cat. Yeah. We couldn't leave her in the van. It was too hot. There's no guarantee of any of these places we could find shaded parking. No. In fact, most of them are, as I say, on top of mountains. Famously unshaded areas. And museums, I mean, they may have let her in, but we didn't want to drive halfway across the country to be told, no, you can't bring... a cat in a bag. Now I understand why they have no pet rules, but when people won't let in a cat who's sealed in a backpack, but they will let in a toddler who kicks and screams, or as we saw in Athens, grown adults that will put their water bottles and belongings on like millennia old marble.
Several millennia old
marble. But they won't let a sleeping cat in. I know, because if they let a cat in, then they got to let idiots in with their ferrets. They go running off. You know, I see why, but it left us in a position where doing what we had planned to do could be to the detriment of Dargo's health. Yeah. Now, we'd both been looking forward to going to these places. All my life I wanted to come to Greece and see these things. But we decided it wasn't worth risking Dargo's health. No. Greece will always be there. These things have lasted 2,500, 3,000 years. It can wait until we are in a better position to come and visit. Yeah. To come and see them. So we already had this Airbnb booked in Athens. We got in touch with the guy, asked if we could extend it for another week beforehand to basically arrive there the following day. Luckily, I doubt that had happened now. Well, maybe now there's a lockdown again, but because international tourism wasn't open at this point, that was no problem. He could extend it a week early. So we then, a little bit depressed, packed up and started heading towards Athens. Yes. To spend almost 2 weeks in an Airbnb.
Almost 2 weeks.
But too far of a drive to get to Athens from Sparta, because this is mid-afternoon now. It would have been too much of a drive. So we drove to Corinth instead.
We did.
And we found a spot. There's a footbridge which goes over the canal. And there's a little road you can get to the footbridge, access from the main road, which also crosses the canal. Yeah. Now the Corinth Canal, I should have written down the history of that place. That would be the start of the next episode, the history of the Corinth Canal, because that was rather fascinating. But I'd seen photos of it on, admittedly, memes. If you've seen a meme where it's a big ferry liner between two just vertical walls of land, of earth. That's the Corinth Canal. And we drove over it, and we got onto the footbridge just to look over it, and it's just this.
It's otherworldly.
Yeah, there's nothing else like it. I really don't think there's anything else quite to that scale.
Yeah.
And the history of it was hilarious, from what I remember.
Yeah.
But that will have to wait till next episode, because that is it for this episode.
Yes. I will say one thing. Sorry.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
It did, so with letting Dargo out on the ancient site of Sparta, it did mean that she got to walk the same path, because it is the same path that they've still got, that the Spartan soldiers walked from the stadium up to the Sanctuary of Athena, where they were, where they graduated.
There's like a ceremony was held there for them. Yeah.
Where they become men.
Yeah, I think that's where they were sort of inaugurated into the Spartan army. So you're in now. You've done it.
Yeah. So Dargo has walked that path. She is a Spartan warrior.
Well, that is the cool thing about Sparta, and we thought about it when we were walking there. For all the lack of buildings and ruins that are there, as soon as you walk past the school, the floor changes. Yeah. And this is the old path that used to come in. You go through an old Roman wall, which they built around there, and that's where not the ticket office, but the entrance is. And like you say, that path which sort of goes round the outside of the site. Yeah. Is the route they took from, because that was the entrance to Sparta. This was the start of the town, and that was obviously like a big, you had a sanctuary to Athena there where they had ceremonies. That's next to the theatre. They put a church there at a later date. That's obviously like the part, the middle of the town. And you do sort of stop, and I think it really does help when there were two other people on the Spartan side with us. But, that sounds like I'm complaining about other people being there. I mean, you could easily get the place to yourself at this point, and you can just immerse yourself in it. You can just stop and think, this is where Sparta was. Yeah. How the houses would have been here. There's no evidence of them there now. No. But we were incredibly fortunate given the circumstances.
I think so.
Of being there. But the heat, it just got to the point. It's either go and have fun and, go and look at all these things we want to look at, but put the cat at risk.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not safe.
No, we don't want to do that. Plus, at this point, I think we'd already pretty much decided that after Athens, we were going to look for a house to rent. Yeah. For 6 months till the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And we thought, once we've got a house, we can leave Dargo there. Or wait till that's what we're going to do. So we're going to wait till the weather was cooler, till like October, November time, and then go and do it.
And then come out.
Obviously, that didn't happen because we're back in the UK now.
Yeah, we did come out. Too far out.
Yeah, but Greece is still there.
Greece is still there.
It's still there.
And back in lockdown, so I think we made the right decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to end this episode on a high note. You can do your end bit in a moment,
of course,
but on a high note, and say that if you do go to Sparta and you do go up to the Leonidas statue, feel free to have a look under his skirt, because
there'll be no judgment here.
We looked to see how accurate the sculptor wanted to be, and turns out he wanted to be very accurate, so have fun with that.
There you go. Yeah, it's not just nipples in Greece, it's everything else as well. So that's it. That is our trip of the Peloponnese in full. Yeah. Over these last 3 episodes.
I'm surprised we managed to fit it into 2 episodes.
Yeah. Kind of 3 because we did a bit on the way down before lockdown. Yeah. So next week is Athens. Yes. That may be 2 weeks. Not sure. We'll see how we go.
We'll see.
Yeah. Try and keep the episodes a little bit below 2 hours. Yeah. Maybe.
As much as one can.
So thank you very much for listening. Yes. To our Peloponnese mini-series, if you like, especially if you made it this far. Please do review, share, whatever. Yes. Reviews or comments on YouTube really help us out. We get more exposure. We'd like to expose this to more people. Mm-hmm. We're available on all major podcast platforms, and there's an audio version on the YouTube channel as well, along with all the video diaries of what we've just been talking about.
Yes.
There are no new video diaries on YouTube because we're no longer living in a van.
Yeah.
So that's all finished now. But the videos are still there and will remain there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yep, at CatavanUK.
Catavan UK. If you wanted to email us directly,
which is catavanuk@gmail.com.
That's correct. We have a YouTube store. We have a Redbubble store.
We do have a Redbubble store.
Yeah, Christmas
is coming. As those t-shirt adverts on Facebook tell us, life is uncertain.
Buy a t-shirt.
Buy a t-shirt. Or a mug. Or a duvet.
Or a mask. We're in lockdown.
Or a mask.
You know?
Or a pic. Just buy stuff.
Just buy stuff.
Just do it.
Yeah, a whole range of things there. And if there's anything on the Instagram you particularly like,
yes,
let
me know. And I will make it available on the store just for you.
There you go. So that's it. Next week we will be getting into Athens, COVID restricted Athens.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, COVID and tourist restricted Athens,
mm-hmm.
And all the shenanigans we got up to there.
Yes.
So until then, I've been Ben.
I've been Frey. Dargo's no longer in the window.
No, where is
She's
Dargo?
disappeared somewhere.
We're in a house now. There's so many places she could be. So until next week, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.